Hello, English learners. Welcome to a new podcast episode here on Story Orbit N. I'm Jessica.
And I'm Tom. Welcome back. I'm so happy you're here because today's topic is something that is going to surprise you. Some of you might feel a little shocked at first, but trust me, it's important.
Oh, yes, this is going to be fun because today we're talking about something important. You've probably heard advice like, don't learn English grammar this way, do this instead.
Totally dramatic, but we love drama here. So, if you're listening and thinking right now, what? What does that even mean? Don't learn grammar? Are they telling me to stop learning grammar completely? No. Don't worry, that's not what we mean. But we want to show you why the way many people learn grammar is completely wrong and how you can do it better.
Exactly, Tom. And we know a lot of people start learning English and they go straight to grammar books, right? They think if I memorize all the grammar rules, I will speak perfectly. And then after months, they can write long sentences with the past perfect continuous. But when they go to order coffee, they freeze. They can't say a simple sentence like, "Can I have a coffee?" without feeling nervous.
And the reason is simple, because grammar books give you theory, but theory is not the same as conversation. And this is where people make the big mistake. They think memorizing rules will make them speak fluently. But Jessica, tell me, have you ever seen a baby reading a grammar book?
What? Of course not. Ha ha ha. Babies don't say, "Oh, today I will study the present perfect tense." They just listen and speak. And guess what? That's how they become fluent. So here's the big secret. You don't need to stop learning grammar, but you need to learn it the right way. And that means learning it in context with real examples, with real conversations.
Exactly. And today we're going to talk about how to do that. And we'll also explain some vocabulary and expressions along the way so you can learn as we talk. Now, Jessica, let's start by asking this question. Why do so many learners make this mistake? Why do they believe grammar is the only key to fluency?
I think the problem is the school system. In many countries, English is taught like math. You have exercises, rules, and if you don't follow them, you fail. So people grow up thinking English is about rules. But real English, the English people actually speak, is very different. For example, grammar books tell you never to start a sentence with and or but, right?
Oh, yes, they love that rule. They say never start a sentence with and, but in real life, we do it all the time. Look at what I just said. I said, but in real life. In fact, starting with and or but is very natural in conversation. So this is what we mean by learning grammar in context. You don't just learn the rule, you learn how people actually use the language.
And let me explain the word context, because some learners might not know it. Context means the situation or the environment where something happens. For example, if someone says bank, the meaning depends on context. It can be a financial bank where you keep money, or it can be the side of a river, like a riverbank. So when we say learn grammar in context, it means learn grammar in real situations, in sentences, in conversations, not just isolated rules.
Yes, that's so important. And another thing, when you learn in context, you also learn collocations. Do you know what a collocation is?
Oh yes, collocations are great. Let's explain that. A collocation is a natural combination of words that go together. For example, we say make a decision, not do a decision. Both words make and do mean similar things, but in English, we naturally say make a decision. That's a collocation.
Exactly. And if you just study grammar rules without real examples, you will never learn collocations. And then when you speak, people will understand you, but it will sound strange. So again, grammar is not bad, but grammar without context is dangerous.
Absolutely. And let me give you another example, the word actually. Many learners think actually means currently because in some languages it looks similar. But in English, actually means in fact or really. For example, I can say, I thought the movie was boring, but actually it was great. So learning vocabulary with examples is key.
I love that. And now, let's talk about something very common. The present perfect tense. People memorize the rule, have or has plus past participle. They make sentences like, I have eaten lunch, and they feel proud. But then, they don't know when to use it. They don't understand why native speakers sometimes say, I ate lunch instead. And that's because they learn the rule, but not the usage.
Exactly. The rule says the present perfect is for actions that have a connection to now. For example, I have visited Paris means I visited Paris at some point in my life, and that experience is relevant now. But in American English, people often use the past simple instead. They say, I went to Paris even when the experience is relevant now. So if you only follow the grammar book, you might sound correct, but not natural.
And this is why I always tell learners, don't just memorize the rule. Listen to how people speak, watch movies, listen to podcasts, talk to people. That's how you learn when to use a tense, not just how to form it.
Absolutely. And here's a tip for all our listeners. When you hear a new phrase or sentence, don't just copy the word, copy the full sentence. For example, if you hear someone say, I'm looking forward to it, don't just learn the word forward, learn the whole phrase, because that's how you will sound natural.
Oh, looking forward to is such a good expression. Let's explain it. It means you are excited about something that will happen in the future. For example, I'm looking forward to the weekend means I'm excited about the weekend coming soon. But here's something important. After to, you use the ing form of the verb. So you say, I'm looking forward to meeting you, not I'm looking forward to meet you. This is a classic mistake.
Yes, that's a great example of grammar in context. You learn the rule about the ing form because you learned the phrase, not because you memorized some boring list. And here's another one, phrasal verbs. People hate them because they think they're difficult, but if you learn them in context, they're easier. For example, give up. It means stop trying. If you say, I give up learning English, it means you stop trying to learn English. Don't give up, guys.
Please don't. And here's something interesting. When you learn phrasal verbs in isolation, they seem impossible because there are hundreds. But when you learn them in a story, they stick. If I say, I was running, but I gave up because I was tired, now you see the meaning in a real situation.
Exactly. And that's why we say, don't learn grammar the old way. Learn it in a way that is connected to life. And let's give another useful tip. Practice speaking with these phrases. Don't just write them in a notebook, use them in your daily life. If you learned looking forward to, go and say to your friend, I'm looking forward to dinner tonight. That's how you make it natural.
Yes, and speaking of natural, let's talk about contractions because many learners ignore them. A contraction is when you combine two words, like I am becomes I'm. Native speakers use contractions all the time. If you say I am happy, it's correct. But if you always say it like that, it sounds formal or robotic. So use I'm happy. Same with I will becomes I'll. For example, I'll call you later.
Oh, and don't forget negatives. Do not becomes don't. I do not like coffee sounds like a Shakespeare play. Say, I don't like coffee. Much more natural.
Exactly. So learning contractions is a great example of learning grammar and pronunciation through real conversation. No one needs a big grammar chart to learn that. You just listen and copy.
Right. And let me tell you something important about contractions. Some learners think using contractions is informal or even wrong because they learned in school that you should write the full form, like do not, cannot, or I am. But that's only true in very formal writing, like academic essays. In speaking and in most writing, like emails or messages, contractions are completely normal. So if you avoid them, you sound unnatural.
And sometimes, if you don't use contractions, people will even think you're angry. For example, if someone says to you, I cannot do that, it sounds very strong, like they're upset. But if they say, I can't do that, it sounds normal. So contractions are not just about grammar, they are about tone.
That's such a good point. Very important. And let's talk about one more thing connected to this. Speaking speed. Many learners speak slowly because they think too much about grammar rules while speaking. For example, they stop in the middle of a sentence because they are thinking, should I use present perfect or past simple? And by the time they decide, the conversation has moved on.
Yes, and that's why we say don't focus on the rule in the moment. Focus on communication. Even if you make a small mistake, it's fine. People understand you. For example, if you say, I go to the store yesterday, everyone will understand you mean the past. Is it correct? No, but it communicates the idea, and that's the goal.
Absolutely. And here's something interesting. When native speakers talk, they also make grammar mistakes sometimes. They say things like, me and my friend went there, which is not perfect grammar, but people use it all the time. It should be, my friend and I went there. So if native speakers don't always follow the rules, why should you stress so much?
Exactly. And here's another example. In conversations, people often say things like, there's lots of people here. Technically, it should be, there are lots of people, because people is plural. But in real life, theirs is common, and no one will think it's wrong. So this is why learning grammar in real situations is important. Listeners, we're not saying you should make mistakes. We're saying don't let the fear of mistakes stop you. Start speaking, even if it's not perfect, with practice. And by listening to real conversations like this podcast, you'll make fewer and fewer mistakes over time. It will start to feel natural.
Yes, and speaking of real situations, let's talk about chunks. A chunk is a group of words that often appear together and you can learn them as one unit. For example, at the end of the days. Instead of learning each word separately, learn the whole phrase. Then you can say things like, at the end of the day, it's your choice. Learning chunks helps you speak faster because you don't have to build the sentence word by word.
That's a great tip. And another chunk is by the way. We use it when we want to add extra information. For example, by the way, have you seen that new movie? It sounds natural. And if you only learn the word way, you will not know this meaning. So again, grammar plus vocabulary and context.
And now, let's talk about questions because many learners make mistakes with questions. They learn the rule, auxiliary verb plus subject plus main verb, so they make questions like, do you like pizza? Perfect. But then they hear native speakers say, you like pizza, without do, and they get confused. Why do they say that? Is it wrong?
It's not wrong, it's just informal. In casual speech, people sometimes drop the auxiliary. They say, you like pizza, or you went there. It's not correct in formal grammar, but it's normal in conversation. So if you only follow the book, you'll think it's a mistake, but actually, it's real-life English.
And this is why listening is so important. The more you listen, the more you understand how people really talk. Then you can use it too, or at least understand it when you hear it.
Yes, and speaking of listening, here's another mistake people make. They try to translate everything from their language into English. And that causes problems because every language has different structures. For example, in some languages, people say, I have 20 years to talk about age. But in English, you say, I am 20 years old. So if you translate directly, you make mistakes.
That's a great point. And translation is slow. If you always think in your language first, you will never speak fluently. So the solution is to think in English. How do you do that? You learn phrases, not single words. If you learn the phrase, I'm 20 years old, then you don't have to build it word by word. You just say it.
Exactly, and here's a good exercise for our listeners. Every day, take a sentence you use in your language and learn how to say it in English as a chunk. For example, if you often say, what time is it? Learn it in English and repeat it until it's automatic.
Yes, and make it practical. Don't just memorize random sentences like, the cat is on the roofs if you never say that. Learn sentences you actually use like, can I get a coffee? Or where is the bathroom? That's real life English.
And that brings me to another point. Grammar exercises are not bad, but they are not enough. Doing 100 exercises on the present simple will not make you fluent. You need real practice, speaking, listening, reading. Grammar exercises are like training wheels, but you can't ride a bike forever with training wheels.
That's true. And here's an interesting fact. Even advanced learners sometimes make mistakes because they learned grammar without context. For example, they know all the tenses, but they never learned which tense is common in conversation. So they say things like, I shall call you, which is correct, but sounds very formal and old. Most people say, I'll call you.
Yes, or they say, whom did you see? Which is grammatically perfect, but almost no one uses it in conversation. People say, who did you see? So again, books teach you the correct form, but you need to know what's natural.
And that's what we've been saying the whole episode. Grammar is important, but only if you learn it in context. So don't spend all your time memorizing rules. Spend your time listening, reading, and practicing sentences in real situations.
Before we finish, let's explain one more cool thing, linking words. These are words that connect ideas, like however, therefore, in addition. But in speaking, we often use simpler ones like so, because, but. And remember, it's okay to start a sentence with these words. For example, so what do you think? Totally normal.
One common mistake is with since and for. People confuse them.
Yes. Remember, we use since with a starting point, since 2010. And we use for with a period of time, for 5 years. So I've lived here since 2010, or I've lived here for 5 years. Easy rule, but best learned through examples, not just memorizing.
Yes, examples make everything easier. And that's what we want our listeners to do. Learn from examples. Learn from real life, not just from rules.
Okay, I think it's time for our summary because we talked about so many things today.
Yes, let's do a quick summary. First, Grammar is important, but don't learn it the old way by memorizing rules without context.
Second, learn grammar in real situations like stories, conversations, and podcasts. Third, focus on phrases, chunks, and collocations like make a decision, looking forward to, and hit the books.
Fourth, don't stress about making mistakes. Even native speakers make them. Focus on communication first. Fifth, use contractions in speaking to sound natural. Say, I'm instead of I am, don't instead of do not.
Sixth, avoid translating everything from your language. Think in English by learning full sentences. Seventh, practice with useful sentences you need in real life, not random textbook examples.
And finally, listen a lot, read a lot, and notice how grammar works in real life. That's the best way to become fluent.
Perfect summary. So that's it for today's episode. We hope you learned a lot and had fun. Thank you for listening, everyone. Keep practicing, keep learning, and remember, English is about progress, not perfection.
We'll see you next time with another exciting episode. Bye, everyone!